Francisco, California. Represent. We're ready to go into big picture. Let's go, baby. All right, Sandy, here we are.
Here we are.
If people only knew what we had to go through to get this going in this room.
All the hoops that were jumped through.
We were not going to miss this. We're going to speak loudly because our microphones are not working. Our cameras were not working. We were trying our best to get you a great view behind you.
Lighting was a huge problem.
Lighting was a problem. I mean, that's one of the things that our partners help us do is to build our new studio at home. But I know what else that they need to do is help us to get together a travel unit that we can take with us so that we will not have to go through all that we had to go through tonight after driving multiple hours to get here to San Francisco. So I'm exhausted. We're all exhausted. But hey, show your shirt off. Your hair's got a shirt blocked.
Yeah,
we represent. Now, behind us, you can't see it now, is the Golden Gate Bridge.
The sun was shining on the bay earlier.
Yes, I've heard a song that says that. Sun shining on the bay. And then right across here, over this shoulder, is Alcatraz that we were at today. It was phenomenal. It was just, whoa. I mean, just to know Al Capone was there, all these other kind of things, and they still don't know if those guys made it off the island or not. A lot of people believe they did escape, but who knows? But I hope you got a chance to see our live today as well from Alcatraz, because we were glad to be able to do that. We wanted to do this show tonight from there because it's 2 hours early, but at 5 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast to go live with you, but they would not let us do it, and so we had to do it here in the room. So hope it's okay. But hey, I want to show you just moments ago, before this got dark here, this was our view out our window. That is incredible. Nice. That's the Golden Gate Bridge, and the sun was setting right over the Golden Gate Bridge. Wow, it was just breathtaking. So we thank God for that. So let's show them just before we get in the news. We've got a lot of news covered tonight, but let's get into and showing them a few little highlights from our trip. And the first one, we went to Yosemite. If you've ever been to Yosemite, we'd never been there. And let me tell you something, it's breathtaking. And we're not going to spend the whole show, just a little bit at the beginning of the show, just to take you with us. Several of you have commented how much you love going on this trip with us, because we are family and we appreciate all that you have done for us to make this possible. So let's look at this right here. This was Yosemite.
All right, one last shot.
What was this place called?
The best view, the best spot.
This was Glacier Point. Look at the waterfall. Oh my goodness, the double waterfalls there.
Just unbelievable.
I mean, it was a long drive to get to this, but it was well worth it. This is Half Dome. Yeah. That's the famous Half Dome, which is incredible. And then I don't think we could see El Capitan on that picture, but it was phenomenal as well. And then we journeyed down and we went to where a place that a lot of people don't go, and this was both runoff to keep the pool level.
Hetchy Reservoir.
Hetchy and O'Shaughnessy. Now, as you can see here, I muted the sound because I didn't want us to compete with voices, but you can see the overflow there. It was just incredible. Yeah. This is the only dam in any state park, national park in the whole country. Mm-hmm. And they had to do that because of the fires that destroyed San Francisco, and it destroyed their water supply. So they petitioned and they got special permission to build this dam.
It's beautiful.
It was unbelievable.
If you can see the waterfall in the distance.
I don't know if I got it in this shot or not.
I can see it in the picture, but you have to look really close.
But yeah, that was a waterfall.
Just breathtaking in the mist.
Yeah, and there was
coming up.
And then last but certainly not least, we went to Sequoia National Forest, where the largest tree in the world is, and that is the General Sherman. And this is the General Sherman. Now, that video does not do it justice, because you can't fathom it. But it is the largest tree in the world by volume, and it is massive. And there's 2 different groves that we went to, and in each of those groves, there were trees that were almost that size.
Yes.
And it was the biggest ever, but there was many that was that size. Yes. So yeah, it was a great trip. We're still here. We knew coming out here Monday was going to fall on this. Our Bible study is coming up. Nothing is going to be missed here because we love, love, love our big picture family. So any comments on our trip so far before we get into the news?
Well, it was one of those vacations you have to work for, but it was well worth it. We've enjoyed time with our family and seeing such amazing sights that truly you just have to be there to appreciate. A picture can't do justice what we've seen in person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, let's get into some news. All right, so one of the things that was breaking this week that got a lot of people alarmed was the Russian warships that showed up off the coast of Cuba. And, so U.S. attack sub, Canada Navy patrol ship arrive in Cuba on heels of Russian warships. So they brought their submarine, and then we brought our submarines. I don't know if you even heard that, but a Canadian Navy patrol ship sailed into Havana early on Friday, just hours after the United States announced a fast-track submarine had docked at its Guantanamo naval base in Cuba. Both vessels on the heels of Russian warships that arrived in the island earlier this week. So, my mind is blown that Cuba, 70 miles from Florida, that we had the Cuban Missile Crisis and all of this.
Yes.
We report each and every week here how things are escalating, how people are trying to do is whatever they can before November. Lo and behold, Russia sends a submarine there, a nuclear submarine, right. and now Canada and America has taken theirs to Guantanamo Bay, which is in Cuba. And Sandy, that's not all. The next thing is this. Russian submarine spotted near the coast of Scotland.
Yeah.
What? A Russian submarine that is currently in Cuba was spotted off Scotland on its way as it arrived in Havana last week. It stopped off there. And then the UK is showing it as well.
Sure.
What are your thoughts about what you think is going on?
So, well, obviously they're trying to intimidate us, and I would like to know if people in South Florida were able to see, hear any of the exercises that they did several days ago when they were off the coast of Cuba. I don't know how far sights and sounds would have traveled, if anyone would have been, be able to hear or see, but I am curious about that. But I'm hearing there are 11 Russian subs off the west coast and 11 Russian subs off the east coast. So,
is this confirmed or is this just rumors?
This was reported from Steve Quell several days ago. I don't know what his source is, but he has said that multiple times.
Wow. Well, as I said earlier, Russian nuclear submarine spotted off the UK coast sparks emergency defense meeting. The Prime Minister has been given a top-secret briefing after a Russian nuclear submarine was identified off the coast of Scotland. It comes as President Vladimir Putin vowed to punish the West for giving Ukraine long-term missiles and a £40 billion loan using frozen Russian assets. So they're threatening, you keep running your mouth, and now we are going to do what we got to do.
Exactly. Look at the provocation that that has been endured by, Vladimir Putin. We keep pushing, and doing what he asks or demands us to not do. So he's just going to put it right back in our face.
Hey, and I think we should address something. If for some reason you happen to hear some kind of noise in the background, weird noises, we're not in the forest. This is your beloved father, that we are the absolute patriarch of this family. We love him so much, Brother Durwood. He is exhausted, and he's in the room with us,
snoozing and snoring.
He is sawing some logs,
right on that side of the room,
right over there. So we're doing our show on one side.
Work with us, okay?
Yeah. So if you hear that, that's what it is. Just roll with it and laugh. But Sandy, we talk about what's going on in the war effort, and we got Ukraine, you got what's happening in the Middle East, you got what's potentially probably going to happen in Taiwan with China, and then all of a sudden just on just quietly. Just we reported on it last week that it potentially could happen, that somebody was going to put it forth. But guess what? The House actually passed it. The House passed the defense bill, which automatically registers men 18 to 26 for the draft. You know, when I was a young man and a kid in school,
It was called what?
it was the selective service.
Right.
Selective service.
Selective service.
But you knew that if you wanted to vote, you were required to do it if you wanted to vote. And back then you were required to do it if you were going to get a student loan and whatever. And at 18, we were reminded reminded of it from our teachers that, you know, when you turn 18, you go down to the post office and register. Well, we did it. Well, I don't know when it was, but that was sort of dropped as being mandatory. But now, watch this. Forget mandatory.
Yes.
This law makes it automatic.
Automatic.
The House of Representatives passed a measure on Friday automatically registering men aged 18 to 26 for selective service. They still call it that, but it's not selective if you're automatically put in there. It was part of the annual National Defense Authorization Act, which sets out the United States government's military and national security priorities over the next fiscal year. The NDA authorized $895.2 billion in military spending and $9 billion increases for fiscal 24. So, you know,
I have two statements here. How many young people, young men, and parents know that that has come up as becoming automatic now, or that they know that it's already passed the House of Representatives? So
Yeah.
it remains to be seen if the Senate will agree and it will go forward. But we know that enlistment numbers are down.
Yep.
They know that they have to do something. So we'll see what happens from here. But I am curious. I would be curious to know how many people know this is even a thing and that it's already halfway there to being a done deal.
Yep, I agree. Absolutely. Well, look what else it says. While it hasn't been invoked in over half a century, it's mandatory for all male U.S. citizens to register for the selective service, as I talked about earlier, as known as the military draft when they turn 18. Failure to register is classified as a felony and comes with a host of legal challenges. Supporters, of course, you know, they've just not been enforcing it, because young people, you know, just say, I'm not going to do it, and they was not going anything they was going to do about it. Objectors, yeah. So, but now it's going to be mandatory. And one of the things I saw the other day, it was sort of a funny and ironic meme. It was like, you know, what all of a sudden now the military has finally admitted what a man is and what a woman is, because, you know, because this does not say men and women, it says men. So but you know what they said they were going to do this week is, somebody pointed out, this is how ridiculous our world is. They said that you'll have to put in there biological men and born a man, and if you're a woman, the reason they're putting that in there, and women. By the way, what I'm trying to say is they also are amending that they want to put women in there. That wasn't in this one, and the reason they wanted to amend it and put women in there is because they were afraid many men would decide that they're a woman, and they were therefore, if they got legal status as a woman, they would be xed out of the draft as a man, because they would say, I'm not a man, I'm a woman.
So it's okay to be fluid, gender fluid, any other time or place, but you better get it straight here.
Pretty much.
Okay, how convenient.
Yep, exactly. All right. I'm going to need you to speak up just a little bit louder. All right, so Saudi Arabia, as we've talked about the collapse of our world that's around us, has now officially chose the Chinese yuan as over the U.S. dollar, and the global markets react. The 50-year petrodollar era between Saudi Arabia and the United States has ended.
That was last Sunday, the 9th.
Well, that's when we said it was supposed to end, and that it could have been renewed. Well, today it was confirmed, or yesterday it was confirmed, that the petrodollar is no more, that they did not renew it, and they've made their decision. The emergence of the Chinese yuan as a challenger to the dollar's dominance raises interest. Reports from foreign media and industry sources of the 14th reveal on the 14th reveal that the petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia expired on the 9th. This is due to Saudi Arabia's decision not to renew the agreement. And then, of course, we covered it last week of how it began and how it's always operated as the main currency of oil. President Joe Biden's stance towards the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, blaming him for the 2018, of Saudi dissident Jamal Khashoggi. Is that say there? Khashoggi. It says, basically, more than 80% of the world's oil is traded in dollars. Should Saudi Arabia allow the use of the yuan in oil transactions with China, the yuan will rise internationally. China accounts for a quarter of Saudi Arabia's annual oil exports.
Wow. So, do you have the same question that I do? What is about to happen?
Yeah.
What is it about to be like to live in this country? Is the hammer about to drop?
Yep.
I mean, is this going to be a huge and devastating reality that we are about to experience?
I think it is. And, but what's so aggravating is, this week while BRICS was meeting, the G7 was meeting. And if you saw the G7 on your news at all, you saw the embarrassment of what happened with our president and the things. I don't want to bash it, but it was just sad to see some of the things.
It was another poor representation of our leadership.
Yeah.
Just to sum it up, we don't need to bash here. We don't need to make fun. We don't need to take a moment and have some humor. You all know. We see it over and over. There are montages. Who ever thought that you would have a montage of your president being made fun of all the recent gaffes? Because if they did a montage of all of them, who knows how long that would take?
Yeah.
This is our reality. The world laughs at us.
That is true. And while they were there, something happened that a lot of people was not talking about. Ukraine signed a 10-year defense agreement with the United States at the G7 meeting, the strongest agreement since Ukraine's independence. The United States is signaling that it's in it for the long haul with Ukraine. After U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced an agreement that declares the United States will continue to provide weapons, defense, and rebuilding spending for over another 10 years.
This is crazy and ridiculous. And might I add, while we were watching our president's gaffe and embarrassment, who was hearing about this as they were pressing repeat, 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 and you saw that 3 or 4 times an hour in the news cycle? Who was talking about this? How many times was this mentioned?
Not one. I never saw it on the news.
I didn't.
I mean, this is a pretty big deal.
Yes.
This is what they're calling the Trump-proof Ukrainian deal, because they're trying to lock it in because they believe that Trump is going to renege on some of this stuff.
Right.
So they're trying to force America into some kind of thing that Trump can't get us out of.
Yep. This is why we need alternative news sources. We certainly,
like the big picture.
We certainly reach out to many platforms to gather news, to deliver to you. But how ridiculous that they're willing to show what they think is the comedy, but not report on a news item like that.
Yeah, and let's just say not just a news item, a massive news item. I mean, when you're talking about, we've already given them over $100 billion that we know of from our country, not to mention other countries. And now we're agreeing to a 10-year agreement to continue 10 years, not just for the war, but to rebuild the country, to rebuild the economy, everything that a country would need to thrive. Yeah. We're going to make sure they're thriving while our country is falling apart.
Save those boutiques and corner stores and bolster those retirement plans for the Ukrainians. And we might as well add that if you are hearing noises like, I don't know, car honking. We are literally on the streets of San Francisco.
How cool was that to say that? We're on the streets of San Francisco.
San Francisco.
It was awesome, man. We was going over them hills yesterday, driving in here, and it was just like in the movies. But yeah, we are fully aware. I'm sure that right now in the live chat in the comment section, everybody's reminding us the condition of San Francisco. We know the condition of San Francisco, but we pray for San Francisco.
We do, and we have other family members here with us, and they were out walking around, getting souvenirs, and the worst parts that you hear about certain things that are happening on the street, the stinky things, they were witness to that. Not happening, but that it was actually on the streets or sidewalks. So,
but we're praying for San Fran though. But what's this saying? While that's going on, Kamala Harris announces $800 million in new aid for Ukraine during Switzerland summit. Vice President Kamala Harris announced $1.5 billion in aid to Ukraine on Friday during a summit in Switzerland, with at least $800 million being new funding for the country while she met with Vladimir Zelensky. The announcement comes as the fighting between Russia and Ukraine has escalated, and the Biden administration has recently granted Kiev the ability to use American weapons to strike the interior of Russia. The $1.5 billion was designated for the country's energy sector.
well,
The energy sector. What? We're taking care of their energy? I can't even hardly pay my power bill. I ain't getting no subsidy.
exactly.
According to the House press release, as part of the Summit for Peace in Ukraine and her sixth meeting with Zelensky, Vice President Kamala Harris is announcing that the United States will provide over $1.5 billion through USAID and the State Department to support the people of Ukraine.
Every week that we do this show, it gets more and more ridiculous. The people, the families in this country are struggling.
Yes.
They are suffering. Many of them are living on their credit cards. They would probably love a little hand up.
Exactly.
While we are shoveling money
Shoveling.
to other people.
Well, let's just read this. The funding will include $500 million in new funds for Ukraine's energy sector. $500 million, $500 million to cover and to help with their energy issues.
Yeah.
While we are being taxed, the carbon taxes are happening right here in this state of California. People are leaving this state in droves because of regulations, because of things that you can't do. Sandy, we got to experience, those that watch us from California, you're going to laugh at us when we say this, but in Alabama, the thought of the Walmart lady asking us, do you need bags today? When we got food for like 4 days, well, yeah, we need bags. Well, guess what? 10 cents a bag. Yeah. You get charged for your bags, and they're not. These are bougie bags.
Oh, but
these bags were biodegradable or something.
They will degrade in the landfill.
They will, and you got to pay 10 cents for them.
What was that thing about the disposable cooler?
Oh yeah, we was trying to look. We got there. We was like, we flew here, and they got a car, so we're like, we need a styrofoam cooler like you can get anywhere, and just keep
some bottled water in.
Yeah.
We can toss it when we're done. Certainly can't take it back home.
So I get on the app. I'm looking for the app, what aisle it's on in Walmart. There's not even showing that they have one. So I go up to this guy, not thinking anything. I said, hey, I'm looking on the app. I'm looking for the cheap styrofoam coolers. So he's like, did you say styrofoam? And I said, yeah. He goes,
we don't do that.
Oh no, we don't do that here.
We don't do that here.
And I'm like, so you don't even sell them? He goes, oh no.
No.
So then I realized, okay, I forgot I'm in California. But so what I'm trying to say is, while we are shoveling money to help with the Ukrainians' power bills and their energy sector, the people in this country are literally cannot pay their power bills. We have people in our church that are good, hardworking people
Yes.
that are struggling to pay their bills
Yes.
because it is getting out of control.
Absolutely. And you know, how much longer till people wake up and begin to rise up? It, you know, it's a tough day when you can't feed your children,
It is.
when you can't buy the minimal supplies to get them back to school, when you have no possible hope of giving them any kind of Christmas, when you can't heat the home.
My goodness.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but people at some point are going to have enough.
Yep. And I think they're getting close. I think they're really getting close because let me tell you, all this is happening we're talking about now. This is what's coming. Former CDC director predicts bird flu pandemic. Former Centers for Disease Control and Prevention CDC Director Robert Redfield said that he predicts a bird flu pandemic will happen. It's just a matter of when it will be. Redfield joined News Nation on Friday to discuss the growing concern for bird flu, as the virus has been detected in dozens of cattle across the country, and the World Health Organization identified the first human death in Mexico. Quote, I really do think it's very likely that we will at some time, it's not a question of if, it's more of a question of when, we will have a bird flu pandemic. He also noted that bird flu has a significant mortality when it enters humans compared to COVID-19. Redfield predicts the mortality is probably somewhere between 25 and 50% mortality. So he's saying upwards of half of everyone that he predicts that gets bird flu, the full version of bird flu, I guess, is going to die. He goes on to say there is no evidence yet that the virus is spreading between humans. Redfield said he knows exactly what has to happen for the virus to get to the point because he's done lab research on it. Scientists have found that 5 amino acids must change in the key receptor in order for bird flu to gain a propensity to bind to human receptor and then be able to go human to human like COVID-19 did.
So meanwhile, we can get in the lab and start cooking up a wah wah.
Uh-huh. Ding, 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 ding. They're already making the proposal to the government.
Oh man.
Once the virus gains the ability to attach to the human receptor and then go human to human, that's when you're going to have the pandemic, he said. As I said, I think it's just a matter of time.
Bill Gates better get in there so he can be a part of it and become even richer than he is. Who was it last week that wanted to test every cow weekly?
Oh, that's Scarf Lady.
Oh yeah, Dr. Deborah.
Scarf Lady, yeah. Oh, Scarf Lady. Yep,
Oh,
yep.
wow.
She's something.
The
She's back.
world that we live in.
So yeah. So let's go back to this. One more article on it. The media now warns. Let's get over here to it. The media now warns that the active bird flu virus is in heavy concentration, survives in pasteurized milk. After telling the public for months that pasteurized milk is safe against bird flu infection and transmission, the mainstream media is claiming that it's possible for live avian influenza to survive the rapid heat treatment process. Well, that's just glorious. Isn't pasteurized the whole purpose of pasteurizing, meaning to kill all the germs so you can feel like you're drinking healthy milk?
Exactly.
You know, they banned raw milk in most every state, and I'm hearing now that some states are rethinking it, legalizing raw milk because they're scared for people to go to Walmart or wherever and buy pasteurized milk.
All right, let's just pause
Come
right
on.
here and think about this. The attack on beef, and
Right.
the fear mongering about beef and eggs and the whole chicken.
Yep.
No beef, no chicken, no eggs, no milk.
Think about it. What do you think? I'm curious in the comments in the live chat tonight.
Yes.
I'm curious. What do you think the end game is here?
Eating the bugs.
Eat the bugs. I mean, that's what I think, because it's a direct attack against cattle.
Sure. I mean, okay, let's go back to 4 years ago. We had to pour the milk out on the ground,
Right.
kill the cows, the price of eggs, was it crazy back then?
Yeah.
And milk went crazy.
Yeah.
So now I don't think we have fully felt the pinch that we're going to be feeling when the beef prices really get to where they think they're going to go. And of course, their ultimate goal is that we will only eat meat on special occasions.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, not to mention, you were referring back to the last time the bird flu epidemic and even things that have happened in the cattle in the past. What's that? Mad cow disease and things like that have
But
happened.
even when COVID hit, so many people couldn't work.
Right.
And
that's right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yes.
Because they couldn't work, they didn't have anybody to take care of all that stuff, so they had to just throw it away because it rotted.
Destroy
it. But now you factor in it's one thing for the cows to get it and to affect the cattle industry. But now they're talking about coming to human contact.
Okay, we're talking about bird flu. Automatically, you have to slaughter millions of chickens. We're worried about the cows. So they have to be tested, if not slaughtered.
Yep.
We're worried about the eggs, and now we're worried about the milk.
Right. What does all that have in common? All of them have protein. That is where we get our protein. Yes. And so you have to have protein. So I'm not trying to be rabbit hole on everything, but the truth is that's what the World Economic Forum is saying. You need to get your protein from bug powder and from bugs because they're a high source of protein. And so I'm telling you, it sounds like a joke to people when you say that. They think you've just lost your mind. But the reality is this: that is the agenda. Get rid of all protein that you have to have. And then when you see your body beginning to decay, your kids, your family needing protein, and they're not getting the protein that they need, then they're going to introduce what they're going to introduce.
When we first heard we would eat the bugs and that you would only eat meat on special occasions, our minds couldn't fathom how we could what steps would be taken that we would possibly ever get to that point. Right. Well, somebody had an evil, long-range, multi-step plan to try to get us there. Right. Thank God we're not there yet, and hopefully we won't get there, but they are certainly threatening this.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Well, in the midst of all of that, there's more and more debt happening every day. We've got world government debt sets record at nearly $100 trillion. The United States now has no way of paying our debt off. As defaults throw developing economies into turmoil, people increasingly will take to the streets to protest government incompetence, corruption, crime, and violence. In a news report released on the 4th of June, the United Nations sounded the alarm of the escalating debt burdens to global prosperity. In their report, it highlighted the unprecedented surge in public debt, comprising both domestic and external general government borrowing, which reached a historic peak of $97 trillion in 2023, up by a noticeable $5.6 trillion from the previous year. Look at this public debt chart from 2010 to 2023.
13 years. What percentage of increase is that?
Well, I don't know the percentage, but it's 97 trillion. Let's see. I don't know if it shows the percentage or not.
So what are you trying to say to me? That they're just going to crash the whole system so they can start over because this is not fixable?
Well, they're basically just saying, yeah, it's not fixable, but they're not doing anything about it. They're just continuing to borrow money. So at some point, right now we
hand out money.
We are publicly stating in this order, our government is publicly stating, we cannot pay. We now officially are saying it, what we've all thought and we've all known. We will never pay our debt off. Never. We cannot pay it off. We cannot balance the deficit. It's too late. So now, because it's too late, we've passed that point of no return. It's almost like that's a green light for them to continue to spend money because it's like, well, I'm never going to be able to pay it off.
Is it 33 or 34 trillion? What's the...
You talking about America?
Mm-hmm.
Well, America is let's see. Let me go back to it because I don't know that right off the top of my head.
But I'm sure. Okay, so we were around 19 trillion at the beginning of Trump presidency, and now it's grown to 34 trillion. Am I
Hey,
saying that right?
I'm taking your word for it. I don't know.
Somebody out there help us out. A lot of numbers thrown around.
Yeah, I'm sure it says it
We're
in there somewhere.
really tired.
Yeah, we're really
driven
tired.
Hundreds and hundreds of miles.
That is true. That is true. I mean, I'm talking about hundreds and legit hundreds and hundreds.
And one of us might have gotten a little car sick.
Yeah.
Multiple
Yeah,
times.
y'all. Let me see. Yeah, she's the one. I'm the driver, and I look. I done some driving this week.
Yes, you have.
I drove some Peru roads.
You were in big
I'm talking
snow.
about. We were like 7,000 to 8,000 feet up, going just like this around these mountains. If you've ever been to California, you live in California, you know what I'm talking about. No guardrails. 2,000 to 3,000 foot drop.
Yes.
I mean nothing. There's like the shoulder is like maybe 2 feet in some of these places, especially going down to that dam. I mean, I was praying, y'all. I was praying, and I was like, well, "This is beautiful. This is beautiful." But I see the sun setting. Let's take some pictures. I need to be climbing that mountain before it gets dark.
He's probably praying that I didn't need to throw up again.
Yeah,
as well.
it's true. True. Y'all, bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
End of an empire, which of course is the G7 of the United States.
On.
Watch this. 59 nations now, Sandy. This breaks my heart. 59 nations now seek BRICS membership.
Well, of course they do. Don't you want to go where there's strength and confidence?
That's sad. I mean, we have to laugh to keep from crying. That's sad that we have to admit that.
Yeah.
That it's not just the United States, it's also the G7. Because you go woke, you go broke. And most of these countries that are a part of BRICS have chosen not to go the woke route. They're not woke. They're not worried so much about DEI as they are about taking care of their veterans, taking care of their people, the homeless.
You gonna make me cry about my country again like I did last week?
Very important events are taking place. BRICS is going full throttle to establish a new multipolar world as the world is rushing to get away from the collapsing United. Look at that. Wow. It's just incredible. So when you go back to this number here, 59 nations are getting ready to de-dollarize the world and end the U.S. Stronghold. At the BRICS summit, they are making it very, very clear. They know who their enemy is. They know what their agenda is, and they know how to do it. Which brings me to this next article. Russia to begin using CBDC, listen, for cross-border trade beginning next year. After announcing the release of their central bank digital currency, CBDC, last year, Russia has now revealed that they plan to use their digital ruble for cross-border trade in 2025. So do you understand what they're saying? They are saying that now the ruble has always just worked inside of Russia. But the CBDC is not just the ruble. The ruble is going to be integrated into the BRICS CBDC, which would be very similar to what the EU was trying to do with the euro. And of course, Great Britain pulled out. The euro is still very active. It's the known currency for all over the European Union. Well, BRICS is going to be much bigger than the European Union,
yes.
And their digital currency is going to be backed by gold. It's going to be actual money, but they've already said, okay, so we've got the system in place. We're going to cross-border use our money. And so that's the beginning of really the downfall. That's really the beginning of the bad stuff, Sandy.
It definitely is. Obviously, I don't know how many years this has been behind the scenes in the works, but obviously we are going to see it speed up at this point.
Yep. And speaking of speeding up, Saudi Arabia now joins the Bank of International Settlements, MBridge CBDC project is yet another threat to the dollar. Here we go. It's just rapid fire assault against the
Yes.
United States dollar. The Bank of International Settlements, a lesser known institution, sometimes referred to as the central bank of central banks, announced that Saudi Arabia has agreed to formally join its bridge project to produce and facilitate CBDCs. So I'm telling you, that's where everything's going. I'm not telling you anything that the big picture audience doesn't know.
Yep.
Digital is where everything is going, and if it's digital,
It's programmable.
it's programmable.
Obviously, there are a lot of details and legal jargon we probably wouldn't be able to understand, but I think we get the gist here. We've been talking about this for a while, but this is happening.
This is happening. Well, something's about to happen in our country, and I'm telling you, I believe it's going to be must-watch TV. Usually, a debate is not must-watch TV, but I believe this one's going to be. And I've said it here before. I may be completely wrong. I have been wrong 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times in my life. So it would not be surprised me if I'm wrong again. But I believe that the reason that they agreed, the Democrats agreed to the earliest debate in history, there's never been a summer debate like this in modern history, at least, is that that gives them enough time. If it goes like most people think it's going to go, because you see the condition of our current president, and if it ends up being, if they are able if he's able to really debate, if both of them are really able to debate, I think most people believe we know how it's going to end, and then that's going to be the catalyst to replace him. I've said that. I may be wrong, but I've said that. Some people say it's too late to do it, but I don't believe it's ever too late.
You've been working this theory for a little while.
Yep.
And I think that it has merit. For me, I don't know how many of you out there would say the same, but to watch a 15 second news bite, a little segment,
Right.
and our president struggles to make 2 or 3 sentences, just a short statement.
Yeah.
How my mind says, how in the world would he be able to stand on a stage for what is a typical debate? 60 minutes?
60 to 90 minutes.
60 to 90 minutes?
Yeah.
How would he be able?
Well, let me show you how, if he's able to pull it off. This is how CNN has done their best to help him pull it off. CNN has set the rules for the Biden-Trump showdown. Now, I want everyone to just ask yourself, have you ever heard of a debate, certainly on a presidential level, like this? CNN has set the rules for the first presidential debate of 24 election cycles, scheduled to take place in less than 2 weeks. President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump have agreed in terms. Here are the debate details. The debate will be held on June 27th in Atlanta and will be hosted by CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bush. And there will be the first in-person debate between Biden and Trump since the 2020 election cycle. The 90-minute event will feature 2 commercial breaks, which has not ever happened. They don't have commercial breaks. They play the commercials at the end. It's always nonstop. They're going to break for commercials. Now, I'm not saying it's never happened. I think it may have happened. I think it may have happened. But they're going to have 2 commercial breaks, and candidates will not be allowed to consult with their campaign teams during these breaks, which I thought was shocking that the Bidens agreed to that. But to qualify for the debate, a candidate must have received 15%. It goes on to say RFK Jr. would never qualify for their rules. But watch this. This is the debate format and rules.
Yeah.
The rules agreed upon by the candidates include podiums and positions will be determined by a coin flip. Microphones will be muted outside of designated speaking times, meaning you will not be able to hear Trump go, "That's a lie. I'll put you in jail," while Biden's talking.
I hear what you're saying, but what is the possibility that Biden's microphone picks him up screaming on the other side?
It's possible.
Just saying.
But I think actually the microphones being muted probably is more for Biden than for Trump, for what he might say. But microphones will be muted outside of designated speaking times. Candidates will only be allowed a pen, notepad, and a bottle of water. No props or prepared notes will be permitted. For the first time in recent history, there will be no studio audience. Moderators will enforce timing and maintain a civilized discussion. In addition to meeting polling and ballot access criteria, candidates must also satisfy the requirements outside the blah, 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 blah. So here's the thing. If there's any way that he can pull it off, CNN had set him up to pull it off. Because Trump's strength is just railing at you and fact checking you right off
the audience.
Yeah, right off and off the audience too. And so they'll have no chance of somebody booing, hissing, going crazy for one or the other.
Does this sound
like a setup?
I don't know.
Did you say boring?
Boring.
It sounds boring, but I don't think it's going to be boring.
I mean, for those people who want to sit intently listening, hanging on every word, okay, yes, they can do it. But for a lot of people who are feeding off the crowd participation and all that, they're probably going to have several people tune out.
Yeah,
and just leave.
And it's probably what they're hoping for.
Maybe.
Because it's in the middle of the summer. Nobody hardly watches TV in the summer.
True.
But I think it's must-watch TV simply because, number one, is Trump.
Well, for you and me.
Yeah. Well, think about it. Number one is Trump. And then number two, you might be watching it because you're supporting Biden, but a lot of people are watching to see how he's going to respond. I think the must-watch TV is going to be, will he be able to cognitively answer the questions, and then also will he not be able to get shook by Trump?
Draw a controversial comment out of me? I mean, what are you doing here?
I'm not doing anything. I'm just talking. but watch this. I think the main reason people are going to be wanting to watch to see if Trump, when his microphone is unmuted, he's going to look over him, he's going to say something, and it's going to make Biden mad. And Biden is going to call him, what was that, something about donkey face or something like that? What was it? What did he always call it?
Something about a pony.
Yeah. One of his things that he uses. But
I guess we'll have to see if it's a disaster for Biden, or can I say this? They bring in one of the doppelgangers, and it's a so success for the Biden camp. That's the only way in my mind that it could go favorably for Biden.
No, you did not say what I think you just said.
Oh, I so did.
Some of y'all didn't even hear it. Some of y'all didn't even get it.
Yes, they did.
So
comment if you think there's a possibility that
there's more than one Biden.
There's more than one Biden.
I saw a Secret Service agent today, I believe it was Secret Service, under interview that said that he worked for many administrations. He said it is 100%. He said, what is the percentage that Biden has a bottle of devil? He says 100%. He said Donald Trump did. He said Bush did. He said Clinton did. He said Obama did. He said they started them in the Nixon age, the Nixon years, and escalated quickly, really ramped up this whole program of body doubles.
As the plastic surgery got better? What are you saying?
No,
this was for security.
For security. This was for security, not to prop up if you're not cognitively able to stand there and handle a speech. And of course, Trump has called for drug tests. He's like, I want to have, let's do a drug test because, you know what he said about him at the State of the Union. He said he was high as a kite. Now, I don't know. I don't know if he was or not. But the reality is this.
About that.
I mean, hey, if one of the candidates is calling for a drug test, you ain't got nothing to hide.
So
do a drug test.
Again, how many of you comment if you think that might happen?
The doppelganger thing?
That there's a possibility, if things go really good, that it might have been a doppelganger.
Well, now, Sandy, it's very possible, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about. People are going to watch to see which Biden we get, which Trump we get. It's not. Look, I'm not just talking about Biden. I'm talking about Trump too. Trump needs to. Both of them need to be presidential.
Yes.
We are in war. No matter who wins, there will be a war president.
I think you're accurate.
You
on
know,
that
so
statement.
people's got to understand it's not about personal feelings. It's not about vendettas. It's not about the donkey and the elephant
Right.
and who's better and who's right. We're talking about Americans.
Yes.
Democrats are Americans. Republicans are Americans.
Yes, they are.
And the president is supposed to be the president of every American. And there's number one responsibility, and I think this is what's going to play into this election, is, you know, what's happening at the border is directly opposed to the number one thing that you swear to when you raise your hand as president is to protect the safety
Yes.
of our citizens. And I'm telling you right now, that's what's going to be the main thing. Now, Sandy, look, we typically go 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I have driven over 4.5 hours to get to San Francisco. I drove 4 hours through the mountains and through the woods. And I mean, I am exhausted.
Yes.
So tonight, y'all, we got 2 more things we're going to show you tonight. And then this is going to be a little bit shorter than normal because we got to get in the bed because it's early here.
Need some rest.
It's early here. It's getting a little late there, but you know, we're 2 hours behind our normal time, and I still ain't adjusted. But now I want to show you something on. I don't even have my supernatural AI update thing on my computer. I don't know how that happened, but so let's do it. Supernatural AI update. Jimmy, Uncle Jimmy. Now I started to call this on the thumbnail Total Recall.
Yeah.
Because of this story.
Yes.
Because we remember the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But watch this. I don't know how many people have heard about this. This is sort of slipped up under the radar. Mm-hmm. Microsoft is now being forced to postpone, y'all, its controversial AI feature that recorded everything you do. Now watch this. The company has announced the tool alongside its new Copilot Plus PCs. Right. Copilot is their AI version. Okay, and it's said that it was a useful way of allowing those computers, these are the new computers, the newest computers are coming out, it's embedded in it, for these newest computers to understand what their owners had done. That would help the artificial intelligence offer new tools. It said, since it would have the ability to bring up anything that had been seen on the computer. It would give computers a photographic memory, Microsoft said during its release. That would be a step towards an AI that would instantly see us, hear us, reason about our intent and our surroundings. Instead, however, it has only led to outrage about the privacy and security implications of those recordings. You think? They would represent an invasive and dangerous set of information for anyone who managed to get a hold of them, critics argue. That led Microsoft to announce that it would ship the feature, which had originally been turned on automatically, as an opt-in. It's also said that it would add new security procedures. Now it says it would delay its release. When it does launch, it will do so as a preview, as part of Microsoft's Insider program, which allows keen users to sign up to receive features early. We're adjusting the release model for Recall to leverage the expertise of the Windows Insider community to ensure the experience meets our high standards for quality of security. Now understand, what this means is we all know we're being tracked right now. We've been tracked forever. We've all experienced talking about something and then starting to get ads on it instantly. You can watch this show and our voices can come through the speaker of your TV. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the latest Tesla car that comes out or whatever, which by the way, everybody around here drives a Tesla, I think. Then all of a sudden you start getting asked for Tesla. You're like, I don't want a Tesla. Well, it's because your phone heard you say that. And I'm convinced that it has mind reading technology, y'all, because I'm telling you, I have had ads popped up on my head for things that I ain't even talked about, ain't heard about, just thought about. But now you have this recall that openly says, not just listening to you and throwing an ad up there, but every single thing that ever happens on that computer And everything that you say in that room, everything you watch in that room, every discussion you have in that room, every picture that is stored on your computer, every video game you've ever played, all of this comes into play to train the AI to design what it's going to say and do to you and for you.
Scary.
Insane.
Every keystroke, every word
Speak up a little bit.
that you've ever spoken.
Yeah.
Is recorded. It's on a server farm somewhere so that it can be recalled, right?
Recall is the name of it. Recall.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about Total Recall, and I ain't seen that movie in years, and I'm not endorsing that movie because I think it had some bad stuff in it. We ain't watched it in a long time, but I do think I remember it this way, and I'm sure this is going to blow up on the live chat and the comment section, movie buffs. But he's living his life. He's got this normal life, and then he begins to realize that he's been memory wiped. Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly? And he starts recalling, and they're trying to stop him. Do you remember the movie?
I don't know that I ever watched the whole movie.
Okay.
I don't remember any of that.
But I think it's called Total Recall because, and y'all correct me in the live chat tonight, but like I said, it's been years and years and years, probably decades now. It's crazy as to say since I've seen it. But he begins to start remembering these things, and they don't want him to remember these things because of his past. And then they want to try to kill him and so forth. Well, that's why I was going to call it Total Recall. But I want to show you this this right here. This is part of a video of a guy that just this week was talking about this and what he thought about it. Let's see if we can get it to play.
Windows 11's AI-powered recall feature, announced by Microsoft on Monday, has gotten attention from privacy advocates, including the Information Commissioner's Office, which is the UK's data protection watchdog. The agency says it's making inquiries into the feature, which takes screenshots every few seconds, giving Microsoft's Copilot assistant a literal photographic memory of the last 3 months of a user's recent activity by default. According to Microsoft, the feature is optional, and these snapshots are encrypted and stored locally, meaning only someone with access to the device could access the images. Further, users can restrict recall from collecting screenshots when certain apps and websites are open, as well as pause snapshots with the click of a button and delete them at any time. However, this doesn't mean that the feature couldn't wind up capturing sensitive information like login credentials or, I don't know, your social security number if you accidentally forget to pause recall while filing your taxes or participating in a hot TikTok trend involving showing your social insurance number to the camera. It's the hottest trend. Mine's According to privacy advocates, if a malicious person does access the device, or if Microsoft changes their mind about storing this information locally, the recall feature could still pose a serious security risk, even with the guardrails Microsoft has provided. A user who is temporarily borrowing a device or using a public device might not be aware that recall is even enabled, accidentally exposing their information. All in all, it's an incredibly invasive feature just for the benefit of a slightly more effective AI assistant. A bit like replacing your hand with a machete just to make hiking easier. I mean, I can never hug my children again, but I'm cutting through these bushes like butter. Butter was my first child before I realized. The European Council has reached a final set of AI safety rules as part of the AI Act, which goes into effect next month. These EU rules are significantly stronger and more comprehensive than the United States' own voluntary compliance approach, with tiers of increasingly strict transparency and reporting requirements depending on the level of risk posed by a given AI system. The rules restrict EU governments from using real-time biometric monitoring, such as
yada, yada, yada. So the reality is this, Sandy. It's been recalled. The recall has been recalled. But can I say this with emphatically? I say this.
Can you say it with a straight face?
It's going to be hard. There is no way this is being recalled. No pun intended.
I don't believe that.
There's no way. You cannot put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube, y'all. It's out, and that's what you can't do. And it's out. AI's out. Generative AI is here.
Yep.
This is our world we live in.
Go back and watch Person of Interest.
Go watch Person of Interest.
Once
that is,
it was loose.
Yeah, that's right. There's no going back.
No going back.
Now we have to learn how, if there's any way to protect our families, to protect our our precious things that we hold dear, that we don't want everybody knowing about our business. That is the world that we're living in, not going to live in, live in. And as long as we can talk to you plain here on the big picture, we're going to do that. And we're going to let you know the truth. And we ain't even afraid to talk about it in San Francisco, y'all. That's where we're at.
On the streets
of San Francisco. Hey, we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Would you like to help us build the big picture family? We're on a mission to wake up the world to what is really going on. All you have to do is go to our website at LarryRagland.com and make a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly partner. Any amount is a blessing and an encouragement to us. While you're there, make sure you get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You. Browse our merchandise store, connect with us on our social media links, and join our mailing list. We appreciate it. And remember, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake.
Yes, we are. We are awake, and we are in San Francisco, and won't be long. We'll be headed back home. We've had a great vacation.
Yes.
It's been wonderful to be with our family and to be refreshed and renewed. But we can't wait to get back home. And don't forget, Bible study will still be live right here this coming Wednesday night, Thursday night, Stan Deo. Everything is still like normal. That's why we're here live tonight. That's why we want to make sure that we never, ever, ever miss an opportunity to be with our big picture family. Closing thoughts?
Well, it has been a great trip. I'm glad we could share with you. It's been thrilling to see the sights of our great country, but yes, I am ready to get back home.
Yes, yes. All right, we'll see you next time on The Big Picture. We always want to remind you, whether we are at home or whether we are in woke country. Y'all behind me, it don't get no more woke than this.
Yes.
But guess what? Even in San Francisco, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. Bye, y'all.
Good night.